Welcome back to Impact Ed, episode 32, and today we're going to talk a little bit about change management.
Yeah, and it's the beginning of the code series that we're going to bring to principals. We recognise right at the moment that principals are really focused on the operational facets of school, getting the first weeks up and running, and regular practices bedded down. So this episode is designed primarily for principals and the executive so they get an understanding of what's coming in the next week or two through Impact Ed. So James, let's jump in and we will have a look at the code. You'll remember we did an introduction last year and we spoke about the difference between collected efficacy and a commitment collective.
And I guess the latter is how we're operationalising the former, isn't it? Collective efficacy is such a popular concept at the moment because we know it's got a high effect size, but actually how do you get that moving on the ground? How do you bring it about?
And we've got so many people who talk about it without actually knowing what it means. So when we're talking a commitment collective, what we expect is we articulate and obtain a shared commitment. And finally, that we all live the code, we all implement the code 100% of the time, every day, and we're very clear on what the responsibilities are for every teacher in the school and for all of the executive.
One of the linchpins of school improvement is that we have an evidence base around how we should do something and that it is done consistently across the school. So this is very much directed at gaining that consistency of practice.
Absolutely. To support this, we need to adopt a consistent change management practice within schools. So we're going to have a look at a model that we quite like. And if we just bring that up now, we've turned our NADPI process into an infographic. We're just going to work around the wheel. Okay. Our very first step when we're looking about change management is to identify a need. What needs to be improved and why, and we need to be quite clear and consistent with that.
And thankfully most people will be through that part of their situational analysis where the need is very clear and very well articulated.
The next component is to go through a process of analysis where we actually drill down and we go deeper than the very superficial need that we saw. We look at what's the root cause, what's causing this. So are we going to treat the problem or are we going to treat the symptom? We also at this point will be looking at externally, very much like our looking outward at the moment.
Yep.
Okay, the next two steps I believe are probably the worst that are done naturally. That's a not very good sentence, is it? Let me say that good.
Most poorly implemented.
Yes,
in your experience.
We know if there's change that we need to have a team, and that team should be a diverse range of people.
And this cuts to the science of change agency,
yes,
doesn't it? We need change agents. Change agents are not just naturally charismatic people. They are people who understand the problem and understand a solution and work collaboratively.
And it shouldn't just be a coalition of the willing. I love getting my biggest objector into my change management team.
Okay.
Let them come in and voice the concerns from inside and make them part of the solution. It's also a great opportunity to stretch people, let them grow professionally. Okay, this next step is where we need to spend quality time if we're going to make really good change management practice. And that's the awareness raising strategy. This is where we communicate with all of our key stakeholders. We go back, we tell them about the need, we show them the analysis that we've done, we show them the evidence base. This is before we know what we're going to do or have a plan. Mm-hmm. This is simply making a consensus of awareness around there is a problem that we need to address and giving them the why.
So this probably started with the consultation with community or school part of the situational analysis, but it's a little bit deeper and more, it's got more longevity than that. You know, there'd be updates, there'd be a communication strategy. Yeah.
We then go through the planning phase, and for us, we like the commitment collective tool, and we'll look at that next. But regardless of the process, if it's a significant change, it should be documented.
And it should be in your strategic implementation plan as a work stream in there.
Absolutely.
And now's the time to be doing that. This work will complement that work.
Yes, and this is going to support the work that schools are doing through their SIP. Then we go through the implementation process or cycle, which is an ongoing process. We don't do change, walk away and it's fixed.
And again, now's the season to be filling in those boxes in your implementation and progress monitoring work streams in Sparrow. So this sits hand in glove with what's required at the moment.
Now, James, we were absolutely decisive in naming this channel Impact Ed. We don't care what happens, we care about the impact that we make. So from the moment we start looking at change, we should be planning on how we're going to measure the impact of what we've done, and we've called that our evaluation cycle. Maybe we should change it to I.
And again, you will find a section in the strategic improvement plan that is asking you to be very precise about what you're expecting to see at various milestones within the process.
Now, I think it's a great practice for a school to use a consistent change management process. You get to train the staff and other stakeholders into what happens next. They get used to the process. People get most uncomfortable with change when they don't know why, they don't know when it's happening or what is happening. If we use a consistent practices, people can predict and they become a lot more comfortable, and when they're comfortable, they accept and get on board.
Yep, no argument here. People just like knowledge, and they like a stake. They not like skin in the game. They like to be heard. Yeah, all this little process is a really good frame for getting lots of those really must-do jobs around delivering your strategic improvement plan right the first time.
So we've talked about the plan, and we've got a very simple tool for the Commitment Collective. So we might bring that up now, James, if we can. So this is the pro forma for our tool. I'll just bring us up on the side.
And I do love a good tool to scaffold some hard thinking.
And the idea of the Commitment Collective is that we're going to try always to keep it to 2 pages. If it has to blow out to 3, then that's okay, but we don't want it to be War and Peace.
Mm-hmm.
So the title at the top, if we were looking at guided reading, for example, or it might be playground supervision, whatever we're working on, the title goes in at the top. Our link to our school vision and belief, and this is part of helping us articulate our why are we doing it,
Yep.
How does it relate to what we're about. The research and justification, we talk a lot about evidence-based practice, and if we're quoting research that's informing what we're going to do, this is where we should be calling it out, not just simply the name of a journal that we've looked at, but pulling out the core bit. Or it might be justification. If we were looking at playground behaviour, the justification might go to your accident record. But
Yep.
it's showing part of the reason for change.
Yep, the compelling reason.
Now we get down to very similar to our theory of action. If we describe what we want to do,
Yep.
and then our final box on the left-hand side, then the impact. So if we implement active supervision, then the impact will be
Less
reduction
accidents,
in
less
dangerous behaviour. Yeah.
So on and so forth.
So the first page is really the overview. Talks about what we're trying to change, what we want to achieve, and what we expect to get as a benefit if we do. The accountability is on the right-hand side. So what are the teacher commitments? These are those 100% things
Yep.
that every teacher must do every day.
Punctual to duty, be there until the end, organise a replacement if you're not going to be there.
Yeah. Focus on the child that needs the most attention,
Yep,
not
that's right.
turn their back. Yes.
Be active, be mobile.
The executive commitment. So
Who's in charge of this? Who's timetabling it?
who's going to be supervising? Who's going to be doing the follow-up?
Who's going to tell the casual teacher when the real teacher's away?
Yeah. And equally, if this was guided reading, what's the executive commitment? Are they supposed to be going around to classes once a week? Are they supposed to sit down and review
Yep.
reading records?
In instructional leaders, assistant principals, head teachers, they all have a role in these things.
Yes. And finally, our evaluative rhythm. So
When
right
will-
at the beginning,
yeah, I love it. Yeah.
yeah, when are we going to evaluate it? What impact are we looking for? How do we know if it's a success? I like the term you used to talk to me about, what's our failure point? That we have to be above, and if we
Yep.
don't hit it, then it's not
Let's
good
let's
enough.
define failure as well as success.
Yes,
If
yes.
we're not seeing a bump in those results, or if we're not seeing a reduction in incidents, we're not seeing a general sense of well-being or satisfaction around this particular part of the school's operation.
Yep. Really simple, James. These are powerful tools, but we know the biggest way that we can improve schools is to get that consistency of practice. Have to work out what it should look like, and then ensure it happens. So we'll look forward to working with our principals and our school teams over the coming weeks, and we've got several instalments ready to go. So we'll look forward to working with you.
Happy February, everyone.